Do you ever feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells in your marriage? Like your partner's needs always come first and your feelings are being dismissed? You might be experiencing subtle yet significant red flags. And I'm not talking about the obvious yelling or cheating. I mean the kind of control that's quiet, manipulative, and leaves you doubting your own reality. This video will help you identify those patterns and understand if you're truly dealing with a narcissistic spouse. My name is Brent Boyer. I'm an attorney here with Adam, the American Divorce Association for Men. We practice law here in Metro Detroit in Michigan, and I've worked with hundreds of men just like you who were married to someone with strong narcissistic traits. What I've learned is that narcissistic behavior can destroy your confidence, isolate you from your kids, and keep you trapped in a toxic marriage. But once you recognize what's happening, you can start taking your power back. So let's talk about the signs and what you can do about them. So this first topic, emotional manipulation. So let's start with one of the biggest red flags, which is this emotional manipulation. Narcissistic spouses thrive on control. That might look like constant criticism, guilt trips, or subtle insults that chip away at your confidence. They'll twist your words, make you question your memory, and even use affection as a weapon. Warm and loving one minute, cold and distant the next. You start thinking you're the problem. You apologize constantly, even when you've done nothing wrong. That's not love, that's control, and you deserve better. And in a divorce, this kind of person will often weaponize your empathy. They'll tell you that you're abandoning them, you're destroying their family, and all the while they've been emotionally draining you for years. If that sounds familiar, it's not in your head. This is a common pattern that we see in narcissistic marriages. The second red flag is the control and isolation that goes on. The next sign then is control, often disguised as concern. So maybe your spouse wants to know where you are all the time, not because they care, but because they're monitoring you. We see this all the time. I met with a client the other day. He can't even come to my office because his wife is going to know where he is. Now, a lot of people track each other on iPhones, but he can't even come in here. He's got to turn his phone off. And then there's no way to make payments to us for anything because his wife is just monitoring everything. And it's really nuts. It's not appropriate. It also turns into isolation. She'll isolate you from your friends and family, make you believe that they don't care about you or that they're against you or they're against the marriage. Pretty soon you have no friends and you really have no family left. You're just very isolated. Gradually your world shrinks until the only relationship that matters is the one that's draining you. The only relationship you have left is with your wife, with your spouse. Another part of this control and isolation theme is financial control. That's a big one, like I touched on. Somebody comes in here, they can't even pay us without their wife knowing that they're paying us. So we've seen countless men whose wives have handled all the money. When the divorce comes, they suddenly have no access to anything. If they have access, their wife monitors all of it. So you gotta watch out for these. These are warning signs for sure. This kind of control is not accidental. It's strategic. And it's pretty common, unfortunately, with dealing with a narcissist at the beginning stages of a divorce and throughout a divorce. It's about keeping you dependent, uncertain, and compliant. It's about control. This false image and public persona sort of situation that happens. A hallmark trait is a false image. Narcissistic partners often care deeply about how they appear to others. They might seem charming, generous, and even perfect in public, but behind closed doors, they're critical, cold, explosive, getting you in trouble, accusing you of domestic violence, causing fights, getting physical. Doesn't look like it from the outside, doesn't look like it on all the social media that they're so obsessed with, right? That's a common trait. So you may feel like no one would believe you if you told them what was really happening in your life, because narcissists are master performers. That's very typical of a warning sign of a narcissist. They'll use the image during divorce. They'll portray themselves as the victim, as the devoted parent, while painting you as unstable or selfish or worse, right? Domestic violence and all that sort of stuff. So this is why if you're thinking about leaving, documentation is key. Keep records, save messages, write things down. You're not just protecting yourself emotionally, you're protecting yourself legally as well. You need to keep track of what's being said to you and what's being told to you. The next part of the red flags, the other warning signs that we see is this idea of a cycle of idealization and devaluation. So what that means is most men in these relationships describe it as being like a cycle. Their relationship is kind of like a cycle, goes in cycles, like a roller coaster. It starts with idealization. It puts you on a pedestal, makes you feel like you're the hero, like you're the greatest thing ever. And then over time, the admiration starts turning to criticism, right? Pretty soon, nothing you do is ever good enough, no matter what you do. So either amazing or you're the enemy. There's no middle ground. And then here's the kicker. Just when you think you've had enough, she'll flip the switch again, being sweet, apologetic, romantic, just enough to pull you back in. So you think things are over, you think there's trouble, then she starts acting nice, starts acting like you're the greatest again. That's not love. It's control disguised as affection. It's weaponizing affection. It's a real problem and not an easy way out of that whole loop. You're stuck in this loop. It's time to recognize that you're not crazy. You're being manipulated. Let's talk about what happens if you do decide to leave. Divorcing a narcissist is not a normal divorce. We see it all the time. We deal with it more and more, unfortunately. You have to expect conflict, drama, accusations. They don't co-parent, they counter-parent. They'll use the court system to continue control through custody battles, false allegations, endless disputes over money. This is why preparation is everything. You need a clear legal strategy, a custody plan. You need advice from a good divorce family law attorney, an attorney who understands how these personalities operate. At Adam, we help men anticipate these type of moves so you're not reacting, you're leading. We know how to do it. We know the warning signs. We know what we're dealing with. We're experts when it comes to this sort of stuff with dealing with narcissists. Unfortunately, we see it all too often. The goal isn't to win against a narcissist. You got to remember that that's not the goal. It's to protect your sanity, your children, and your future. That's the goal, not winning. It's not about winning. Idea here, red flag thing to be watching for here with divorcing a narcissist and being married to a narcissist and you're at the end of things, need to get divorced, is this concept of what we call reclaiming yourself. Leaving a narcissistic relationship isn't just a legal process, it's an emotional recovery. It definitely is one way to put it. You're left feeling guilty, confused, ashamed. Here's the truth, you didn't fail, you survived, you got through this. Once you stop walking on eggshells, you start rediscovering who you really are as a man, as a father, as a person. That's when the real healing can begin. So it sounds, maybe more complicated than it really is, but it can be a lot to deal with. You really got to do it the right way. We deal with this all too often. Like I say, we're experts. We deal with the Metro Detroit area here in Michigan. Our attorneys have been doing these sorts of things for years. They've been dealing with narcissists for many, many, many years. And we can help. You got to recognize the warning signs. That's the first step. And also, next video, just for something to, sort of what's your next steps here. You could watch another video on this. We do have another video. That one's called Divorcing a Narcissist. How can men beat a narcissist in Michigan?